What's cracking, everyone? Welcome to the T and Me podcast. I'm Glenn.
And I'm Tina. I'm sure in future episodes this is not going to be as funny, but every time I
She
think about
laughs
it,
every time. It doesn't take much.
It doesn't.
But thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it.
Definitely.
We got to give thanks, though, team.
Honestly, the support and encouragement that we're getting right now has just been
It's been awesome.
It's been incredible. And I love that you guys are so interested in our life, and I love that you're asking the questions because it's like this is what we want to do, is be able to share the last 30 years. And one of the things that hit me, Glenn, is like last week, it was like we are teen parents 30 years later.
Yes.
And do you know how many stories are there and how much there is to talk about? So it's really cool. Thanks, you guys, for being as interested. We appreciate
it's awesome. And we actually have a lot of questions in our inbox, people texting us. And this episode is about people are interested in how you and I had stayed together for so long, being so young.
Yep.
Just for the simple fact, like, what did two teenage kids know about love? What do we know about marriage? What did I know about being a father?
Sure.
And that's what people are asking us.
Yeah.
You know?
So, I mean, like, how did you do it? So, and it's so broad. I mean, like, for us to be able to, like, we can't hone in on one specific thing on that. I mean, but we did put a little bit of talking in to try to figure out the best things to go with. And I think starting this off, being a young parent, we weren't anywhere near being able to think about anything else but being a parent.
Right.
So it was almost like being married was secondary to being a mother, being a father.
It kind of was.
Right?
Yeah.
But we were on the same page with that.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I expected.
Well, here, you know what? Something actually I just remembered something. I remember, this is a little story real quick.
I'm afraid.
I remember, and this was the only time. So I remember when we just had Dakota, and we were, Dakota was a couple months old, and I was overwhelmed. I mean, here I am, 17.
And why are you overwhelmed?
Well, I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed because I was going to school. I was working.
He was still in high school. He was a junior in high school.
Yeah, but this is
kind of working fun. 2 jobs.
Working 2 jobs. Yeah.
So.
But I remember, like, man, what did I get myself into? This is crazy. I don't know if I want all this. And I remember we were up in our room. It was me, Tina, Dakota, and I said, Teen, I don't know if this is all for me. I don't know if I can do that or do all this. She looks at me. Do you remember this? And she goes, "Oh, well, you better snap out of it." I was like, okay. And that was the last of that. I never even thought about leaving ever again. Do you remember that?
I do.
You said, well, snap out of it.
But you have to understand where I was coming from.
Okay, I'm on board. I'm ready to go now. I just need a little pep talk, that's all.
That was a pep talk?
Yeah, that was our pep talk. Yeah, I'm on board.
You have to understand, like, I'm even, like, tearing up thinking about it. Here I was, I had just turned 18, and I'm sitting with this baby, and her father is saying he's not sure if it's for him.
I didn't know. It lasted a minute. So this didn't go on. This was like, it was just a minute.
Yeah, it was like you were scared. And the thing was, though, like, I was in this place like, oh, no. Like, I can't be left in this place. And that's kind of like what went through my head. So, like, I don't know if I should owe you an apology for that.
No, it's funny because even to this day, like, when I go in a little tangent, she like, snap out of it. Like, all right.
To be funny now this time.
Yeah, to be fun.
Because nothing is as challenging.
That was just a story, but it was funny. It was funny then, it was funny now. So, but go ahead.
No, but you were 100% committed. There was no question. It was just like you were so overwhelmed. And I think back on that too. I'm like, my gosh, this guy was 17. I mean, he was a kid. And I've thanked you for this all these years to say, like, how, like, this is, I guess, a part that maybe needs to be said too. It's like your actions and your choices, they affect everybody around you. And that's really, really important to know the power of your words, the power of your choices. Like, that's very important to recognize. And that's your choices at 17 years old.
Right.
Transcended all the way through to our kids today. So if you would have made a choice that it wasn't for you, and you decided you were just going to like walk away from it, it affects
Yeah.
generations.
Right. No, I know what you're saying.
So
Yeah.
it's a different.
Well, it's
thing
funny because even to this day, you thank me all the time, for like being the man who I am and
Yeah.
the person who I
And what
am
you did and
and
how
what
you
I
stepped
did.
up. Yep.
But it's funny though. I mean, I never thought of never doing my job as a father.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, I look at Tina all the time. I'm like, well, thank you. What else would I have done? But I'm trying to say.
I do.
I mean, it's expected of me.
But
It's expected of every father.
It is, but the unfortunate thing is, again, this kind of ties into like what we're going to be talking about tonight. It's like there's these. So let's start with what we're talking about with like our personal growth, right? We didn't know any of that. We didn't know what determined. We didn't. Looking back, we can say we knew it was personal growth for us.
Right.
We wanted to raise our kids with a little more of a structure.
Yeah, love, compassion, structure.
Right. We wanted to raise them thinking that nothing is impossible, that everything needs to be done, so why not them? Like giving them that empowerment of everything that they can do.
Right.
But that, again, it costs a lot of money and it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of dedication and sacrifice, and there's all these pieces. So our personal growth as people was to just always try to be the best parents we could.
Right.
Right. And then this will go into another topic that we can talk about later, but like we consumed ourselves with our kids.
Yes.
And I would do it all over again the same exact way. Like I don't look back on my life and say like
you have no regrets when it comes to
or
being
like
with kids.
Man, I really missed out on this because
Right.
I don't feel that. Now, after the kids go to college and you're left with like what's my identity now, but we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah.
To that point though, in growing up together, which is what we did.
Yeah.
We grew up together.
Right.
And that says a lot too, to where like why we're where we are now and being able to talk to each other. And there are times like you're thinking something and I'm saying it, or I'm thinking something and you're saying it, and that just becomes a common like thread for people when you're that connected. Right?
Right.
So the personal growth was for you. You wanted to be the best father.
Well, my personal growth. First off, I think we didn't want the kids to feel the impact of our decision of having kids early,
and we were angry about being like stereotyped into a teen pregnancy.
Right, because just because you're young, you're not going to be good parents.
Yeah.
So we wanted to change that.
And that is so far from the truth.
So you're always dealing with that. So I think we were always being scrutinized. So we were always trying to do our best at anything we did.
And more than our best.
Yeah.
Like,
you're right. Whether it was the kids with school, whether it was the kids with sports, so the way they dressed, or I think we were always just trying to go above and beyond to prove ourselves like, we're worthy parents.
Yeah, well, we did. I mean, I really feel like there was a lot of times like when our kids were in elementary school, it was almost like we were overloaded, but we weren't acknowledging it. Like we weren't feeling it. Like we weren't thinking about it because it was just like, this is what we have to do. Our kids are first. We need to do this. We need to do this. And it was almost like become like super parents.
Yeah.
To break out of that because
that mold.
Yeah. And we were surrounded by very like successful people. So you almost feel even less because of that.
No.
And so you just become like almost machines.
Yeah, machine-like. I know.
In what you do.
We were crazy. But go ahead. So you were saying about our personal growth?
Yeah, the personal growth to try to be the best mother. Like, everybody can look back on a generation and say like, wow, like you could look at your own parents and say, I would never do this. I would never do that. But the point is like, you have to recognize in your own relationship with your kids. So it's like, they're going to have their own issues. You're going to have your own issues, but you're the adult.
Right.
And you've got to be the one to control your own issues and help them learn how to cope with theirs. And doing that at the same time is really hard.
I understand what you're saying too, because being so young, you're saying almost like, what can I teach our kids?
Yeah.
I mean, we're only, what's the age difference between our kids?
I mean,
it's 20 and 18?
Yeah.
So it's 20 years, Dalton's 20 years, Dakota's 18?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Difference.
Difference.
So you almost start to question like, what can I really teach them? But That's where personal growth comes in.
Yes.
And I think it's important to know, like, well, Tina was here. She was always here, and I was always playing catch up.
That's not true.
It's true. It is
that
true.
Is so not true.
Listen, I can say it. Her learning curve is a lot quicker than mine. So, and now I'm okay with that because I was always trying to raise, and
well, that is very sweet to say, but.
No, but hold on, let me finish.
Go ahead.
So I think it's important to know that when you have two people who are pulling in the same direction, it's important to hold each other accountable, have higher standards, and that was important. Tina was from day one. Once we had our daughter, she went into mom mode, as most women do.
Yeah.
She went into mom mode. She knew exactly what to do, and then I would follow. And I was following to try to do things and mimic what Tina was doing. And Tina would say, "Do this better. This is how you have to do it." And that's just the way it went. And then when it came to the way we were going to raise our kids, I think we were both on the same page.
We were on the exact same page.
We wanted to raise our kids differently, and like I said, we didn't want our kids feeling the repercussions of our decision on having kids young. And I think we did pretty well at that.
We did, and but. I really appreciate you saying that, Glenn, but like what the same thing you brought is decision making, intuition, ideas. Like you were very positive and motivating, and you were really setting the bar high. And I was trying to reach that bar. I mean, it was kind of like a mutual thing because it was like you were setting this standard, and I was like, well, I need to do this? But at the same time, you're saying that you were kind of in the same.
Well, I think what it is like and everybody experiences who's in a long relationship. Everybody's growing at different periods.
Yes.
Yes. You took off. I came up.
Yep.
And I might have maybe surpassed you in certain things in terms of life, learning life quicker.
Yes.
But I think what it comes down to is understanding that some people are moving a little quicker in the relationship than the other person.
Yes.
And it's your job, if you love and care about that person, you got to help them. You got to help them grow. You got to help them move forward in a positive way and feel good about themselves and their situation that they're in. And that's what we did.
And that goes back to, it's like, putting our family first. That's exactly what was necessary for that, because it's like, it can't be like, listen, we had battles, we had debates, we had like arguments. Everything within our relationship is genuinely real. We experienced a lot of different things.
Yeah, we had a lot of immature moments.
We did,
because we were immature.
We were kids raising kids.
Yeah, so I'm just being honest. You know what I mean? We were immature.
Yeah, and we didn't have the skills. We didn't have the skills or understanding of how to handle things.
Well, that's why I say all the time, I'm like, what did I know about being a father? Right. What did I know about being, a husband?
Yeah.
I mean,
we don't. We didn't.
No. We didn't. And it was like we were learning along the way. I mean, don't get me wrong. I knew I loved Tina unconditionally. I knew I loved my kids unconditionally. And I knew I wanted to be in this for the long haul. But, you have immature moments because you're young.
Yeah.
But when you had those moments, you almost like kick yourself and you say like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing this like this.
And you keep trying to figure out how to do it different or better. And that's what we did do. We tried. There were different places. Again, we were in different places at certain points, but it was always family first. So that was never an issue. Like there was never a feeling of like not wanting to be part of this family.
Right.
And that is huge. And I'm thankful for that. But, coming back to what creates a lot of issues, it can be outside negative
influences. Yeah.
And socially, I can look back, and I think I just mentioned this, is like socially, we didn't do a lot socially.
We didn't.
It was the kids. It was the parents of other kids on soccer teams. It was kids' parents at schools.
It was school and sports.
That was it. And work.
Yeah.
So, the outside influence for us was really at a minimal. I mean, we did not want anybody in our life that wasn't going to add
positive value.
Right. Yeah. And like positive value in conversation, in guidance, in you know, inspiring
Yeah.
and aspiring us for us to do things that are out of our comfort zone or
Right.
whatever it might be. Like,
Oh, how many times did we hear, like, oh, come on, you guys got to go out. We're going out to the bar. We're going out to the club. Come on, you guys are still young. Just because your parents, you still go out.
right, right,
I was like, not having it.
right.
No more. I'm not having it anymore. We're not doing that. It's not the kind of lifestyle
That we do.
Yeah, that I wanted
No.
at that time.
No. Or like just even like hanging out. Like we didn't hang out with friends. We just because
No.
literally we worked so hard and did so much.
All I wanted to do was sleep
So we were like
when my kids
up
allowed
at
it.
5 a.m. Yeah, right. We were up at like 5 a.m. and did this whole, sometimes I had 3 jobs, sometimes Glenn had 2 jobs. Like we were hustling.
Right.
And it was like to sit down and hang out with people, we'd be asleep. Like literally, once you sit down, you're out. And I know that a lot of people experience that. I know you guys feel that. But I'll tell you a very funny story. So our daughter was on this travel team, and it was a first like travel session travel team that we went on this tournament weekend with, and we were 26 when we went, and that night when we got up there, all the parents were like, gotta come down to the bar, come and hang out with us, good, whatever. Meanwhile, we were hanging with our kids because we were like at the pool, we were in our room, like watching movies, like, and a lot of the other kids were like hanging out with us, and we were just like enjoying the kids. And the next morning when we came to the field, one of the parents were like looking at us and they're like, you are the most boring 26-year-olds we ever met.
We were boring.
Meanwhile, they all had sunglasses on because
they were hurting. They were hurting.
And I'm like looking at them going like, yeah, we kind of are.
Yeah, we are. We're lame.
There's not much here.
We're lame young people.
But it served us well and it worked in our favor.
But touch more on just the negativity aspect of not allowing it.
Well, okay, so people have a tendency, like if you're around people that are doing what you're doing with your kids and that involved with what you're doing, like it can be a good thing because they have a boundary around their family because they're busy and you have a boundary. But if you're kind of like having one foot in a different world,
that's exactly what it was,
right? It brings a lot of issue.
It does.
And the issue comes down to, it's like there's topics that happen, there's conversations that happen, there are things that are just like you sit there and you go like, I don't have time for this. Like, I don't have time for this. So recognizing that becomes part of saying like, this is one of your sacrifices. Like when you have kids, it is about them and the person that you're spending your life with raising those kids. And that's it. That's the bubble. And we've done that. Our bubble was all of us taking care of each other.
Right. And
avoiding a negative impact from things.
Right. I would agree with that. I mean, because, these are people, and again, it could be family members, it could be friends. Mostly it was friends.
Yeah.
That you grew up with.
And they didn't have kids.
They didn't have any kids, and
No.
they didn't understand, and it drove a wedge.
Yeah.
In between some friends, but this is what you got to do.
You have to
You have to be totally 100% committed when you're that young, trying to raise kids and do it right.
Because I can look back and I can honestly say that there were a lot of friends that were involved that just they didn't understand then, but now.
They know now.
How many times
they're having kids
and they turn around and they say, "I that was such wrong advice," or "That was I shouldn't have said that," or "I can't believe I was like we were okay with being like, well, you go do you, and we're doing us. And
we'll catch up with you in like 7-8 years.
Yeah, or like whatever. But it was almost like we had to be okay with just going like this is what we're doing, and this is what we're happy with doing, and this is what's most important. And it does. It makes a huge difference.
And it's crazy. Some of you listening might say, well, that's a bit drastic. But, you have to understand, though, being young, raising kids. So basically, kids raising kids, you have one time to do this because everybody's expecting you to fail. Teachers. All your family members, friends.
Well, the statistics. Everything is
it's against you.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks you're going to fail.
Yes.
So you got to pour everything into it.
Yes.
And if it means cutting people out, see ya.
Yes. And we've gotten better at being a little more like.
No, I'm talking about then.
Yeah, then is what I mean. Like, that that wasn't something that we like. I don't want to say cared about. It was almost like that had to take a back seat because that was not a priority.
Right.
Because nobody understood. Like we only understood our circumstance.
Yeah.
There was nobody else that understood that. There was nobody that at that time we could ever go to and be like, "Are you feeling like this too?" Because it's like they're still living at their home with their parents. They're still doing
they
kid
just
stuff.
didn't get it.
And or off to college doing their thing, and that's awesome. And I would never. I mean, that path is just as cool, but it didn't fit in ours. So we did make those changes, and the other side of it was you were really strong in belief in this, and this took me a little while to get because I felt like on top. That was it.
That's me.
It's all him.
I didn't hear what she's gonna say, but it was all my idea.
Do you want me to repeat it?
Not yet.
Like right into the microphone. So. And now I forget what I was going to say. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
you were really good at saying, like, this is not going to last forever.
Oh, you mean the tough times, the struggles?
Yes, because I have to be honest. We had struggles, like, on, getting on the same page a few times. But our struggle was all financial. Our struggle was always, that was our stress. And for as hard as we were working and the things that we were trying to do our best at and trying to do our most at, it was almost like it was just constantly we felt like we were going backwards. Like you're working 10 steps and you're going back 20, and it's like, oh my god, like
it felt like we were never going to get ahead.
But you never said that. You were always like, "Teen, it's temporary. We're going to get through this." And I'm always like, huh? Like, because, I was doing the bills, I was doing the banking, I was doing all the things, I was paying attention.
The Monday.
The breadwinner.
I'm the breadwinner.
So, it's an inside joke I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But, those were the pressures. That was the reality I was seeing every day. Like, stopping and getting gas and only being able to put, like, $10 in.
Yeah, you're budgeting all the time.
And we got to get kids, like, 100 miles from home. Like, it was like there was always a budget to improvise and a pull from here and a pull from there. And I know people do it, but we were doing it like at the most minimal level ever. So it was almost like,
for us it was
So but when you would say, "Teen, it's not going to be like this forever. We're not going to be like this forever. We're going to be fine." It was always about like, I almost felt like looking like, fine, like how are we going to be fine? Like that was what my brain was saying. And I probably said it a few times that way, like, it's not fine, like, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I probably must have said that over 100 times through the years.
Oh, my God. And I would always look and be like, what?
It's not going to last forever.
And in hindsight, looking back on it, it's like, I probably should have trusted that more and just be like, you know what, you're right. Because I lost a lot of days to that stress. Right. I lost a lot of my life and my time to that stress. So, yeah, it's going to work out.
My thing was, even though things were tight, tough, I was just trying to live in the moment, whether it was with you, the kids. I was trying to enjoy every second.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what we were doing. I was just trying to live.
I had to work on that a little more because I was like, my head was in like all these different places because of it. So it was like, I did work on it though. I did. Yeah. I brought myself back to just go like, we're at the park. I don't want to be worrying about like, I got to put a car payment out, and yet I would do it, and I wasn't there. And at 47, I'm doing that now. I'm doing it a lot more now.
Things are a little easier now.
Heck, a lot easier. But the temporary part of it. But in closing on this, I know we're running a little longer than normal, but this was something we were trying to cover and summarize pretty quick for all the interest in what people were asking. So I hope that this kind of touched on some stuff. But
can I add one thing before you close this? It's funny. Tina and I often said, and this is like a good analogy for us, during those years, we had no money to actually stock away because, we had the kids and everything that we were earning, it was going towards the kids and what they needed. And, I don't even know if I was old enough to even have a 401k then, but I don't think I was. But I looked at it this way. Our kids were going to be our best investment. Yeah. It wasn't a 401k. It wasn't put stock and money away. Yeah. Our investment
because we started out at a different place.
Because we started off so young and we couldn't do it, obviously. Right. But like I always looked at it that way. They were our best investment.
And that is way true.
And it paid off.
And no matter what place you are right now, no matter where you are, that is 100% true. your kids are the best investment you are ever going to be
Yep.
giving yourself to, giving your money to. It is your children. So, I was going to close out with just basically saying, like, we had to have a lot of trust in each other.
Definitely.
We had to recognize selfish behaviors if there were any.
Oh, yeah.
We had to correct them, and we had to allow the growths to happen and recognize they happen at different times, but never give up on it.
Yeah.
And, when you fast forward time and you figure, like, man, we've got, like, what, another 40 years at this if we're lucky, closing out this life, it's like, what are you going to look back on and be wishing was better? And I don't care if it's reconciliation with somebody or making things better in your own marriage or making things better with your kids. Say what has to be said correctly and with such genuine care to just make the situation the best you can make it. Because if you don't do that, there are going to be a lot of regrets that you have when the chapter ends.
Well said.
Thanks.
I liked it.
Thanks.
Well, guys, thank you. That's another episode of T and Me. We appreciate it. Please like, subscribe.
And share it. Like, if you
And
know somebody
share
that
it.
can gain this, like, share it.
And
like,
keep leaving us comments, too. Things that you guys want to hear. Things you want to know about us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we're in.
So thanks, guys. We really appreciate it.